Alright, boyos. Finally back with another video. Hopefully my microphone doesn't cut out in the middle of this one, as it did with the last video I tried to record. But today we'll be talking about how people seemingly have gotten a bit more antisocial when it comes to communicating problems. You know how, like, if you're here in America and you go into, like, the train stations and the airports, you'll hear the phrase, if you see something, say something? That doesn't seem to be a thing that a lot of people in this country, and probably in a lot of the world at this point, to be honest, at least most of the world at least, don't seem to be doing. And by this, I don't mean like the standard way like sub fives get roasted at work or bullied at school or any sort of other day-to-day transgressions or abuses they face, but just more of if you're working with someone at like a job that requires multiple people, or even if you work a pretty, I don't know how I put this, but sort of individualist job where you don't really have to micromanage things as much or do as much, I guess you'd say, team effort. I've just noticed, at least in some of the cases that I've seen, where people are just kind of acting weird about things and they're not really saying anything to that person. Or I've seen a few managers get on my case or on another person's case. Because again, this is just more of an anecdote from my life, but I've noticed this a lot more, and it's like I think to myself, as these people are kind of whinging about it, I just kind of think, well, if you got a problem, you got to say it. Because the truth is, yeah, we're sub fives. Yeah, people don't like us, but I think what's better than just the generic micro expressions and the weird sort of passive aggressive behavior we might deal with on a day to day basis with people we deal with on a day to day basis. I'm not talking about people you'll pass on the street who you'll never see again, who'll make like, who'll pull like a face or go, ew, you're an inkle. And I mean, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to tell if a person doesn't like you, even if you work with them in a group on a day-to-day basis. But I think if a person doesn't like you, obviously for your looks, or if it's for something else, they should just come out and say it. Because a more honest world, particularly when it comes to social things, would have been a much better thing, and it is a much better thing. Because it's better to know what the person you work with, or if you're like a beta bucks. I mean, well, that's kind of self-explanatory, but if you're in a beta bucks or you're in a dating situation where you have quote unquote friends, it's better for them and for you to be honest with them. And again, that's a very hard thing to do for most people because I don't know, it just seems that in the past, since the virus and all that stuff from 5 years back, it seems like people have gotten a bit more antisocial. I'm not going to pretend this wasn't necessarily a problem back in 2019 or 2018 and that this is only something that just began, but I don't know, maybe you boyos can leave something down in the comments to say your own observations both before and after the coronavirus. But, people not being able to come out and say what they have against a certain person is just not too helpful. And it's better, as I said earlier, it's better to know what the person you work with thinks about you, or if you like speak with someone, it's better for them to come out and say, "Look, bro, I don't really like you. We're gonna go our separate ways and not speak to each other." It might sting at first for some people, it might briefly even offend or anger some people, but it's better for them to be honest with you. Or if it's the reverse case where you have a problem with someone, it's better for you to go, "Look, bro, I don't feel this way about this. I think we need to go our separate ways. Cut the fucking cord and all that." Because maybe at first it'll feel a bit strange and maybe there might be a bit of resent or anger, but that will subside pretty quickly because it's better to know how something really is than to spend days, months, years, decades even of kind of just putting on a facade or trying to tolerate someone you don't really want to tolerate. I'm not saying the inconvenient truth is you are going to have to deal with people that you're not going to like, but I'm just saying that people should be more honest about how they view those people, or maybe just find a way to minimize the interactions you have to have with that person if it's at a workplace, for example, or if you're a beta bucks and you have an abusive wife. Which, to be honest, in that case, you should probably just divorce. I know for many beta bucks, this is a sort of foreign concept, dipping out of a relationship, but if you've got a problem with someone on like a relationship front, you should just get out of the relationship. And I want to do a video on this because I just see a lot of like fail normies and mental cells and like hopeless romantics who don't seem to kind of conceptualize that point. But since we don't live in the ideal world where everyone's honest with each other on how they think about things and where people are too busy virtue signaling or being like, how could I put it, fa edgy, as in like people will act edgy, but if you were to enact the same edgy behaviors as them or were to mirror the same edgy behaviors as them, they would kind of revolt in shock of like, oh my God, you actually think that? That's horrible. How dare you? And that itself also might be a topic for another video. I'm not going to make any promises here because, again, I'm a busy man. I'm a busy man. But for those of you who have to deal with these types of people, and for those of you that are kind of around people overall, a lot of times if you're at a workplace where you have to do some sort of team, not team building as in like those cringe max, like, oh, you gotta treat your coworkers like their family, but I mean as in like you're in a construction company or you're in the military or you're something along those lines. Usually blue collar, but also white collar jobs. Maybe you have to do some like group projects to meet a quota. The best way you can tell, and I think this is obvious to 90% of people, but pay attention to people's micro expressions and just, in a way, there's sort of indirect actions and subtle facial movements and maybe some kind of very subtle slights they might say openly towards you, because it can tell you a lot about that person. It can tell you a lot about how that person feels about you. And I think this is something that I'm going to kind of continue more in a video I'm going to upload in 2 days' time. That's right, boys. I'm going to feed you, well, I'm going to feed you 2 videos in a week. Too bad it's not Christmas, because then I'd give you 3. But anyways, boys, this is a shorter one I did. Shoot your comments in the Howling Madness, like, comment, and share, and let me know how often you see this type of behavior. I'm out.